We just learned how Justify content allowed us to center this. We also learned that Justify content is going to be on the horizontal axis inside of our Flexbox. So we're going left to right, and then this is Justify. So what if we wanted to go this way? What if we wanted to be able to center something perfectly between justifying and going up and down? Well, that is a new property inside of our Flexbox module, and that is called Align Items. Now, you could be going, why didn't it call it Align Content? Or why are we... Don't worry about it. Sometimes the naming conventions can be a little interesting, and we've just got to memorize what they are. So Align Items is always going to be the cross or the opposite axis of whatever Justify is set to. So watch this. I can type center. And this, my friends, this is a moment of just beauty. I spent years of my life trying to center things vertically before Flexbox as a developer, and it led to heartache and sadness because it was never this easy. Flexbox is so powerful that it allows us to use this cross axis, and we can also use the same things that we used before. So we could say Flex Start in terms of like it's matching very closely with Justify content. We could do Flex End if we wanted it to go on that axis. So that's right. We can actually get this thing centered, and then depending on, it doesn't matter if we like make our web page smaller or bigger, it's going to auto adjust. And that is the power of Flexbox. So we don't have to use margin anymore in terms of like margin auto or guess with like a hard coded margin. So let's kind of step back for a second and look at Flexbox again. Flexbox again is a parent-child relationship. So they've got to be in the same HTML quadrant here, like main and section have to be in a parent-child relationship for this to even work. Notice that this content is still adhering to our text-align center. So it doesn't mean that like all the things we learned in the past are obsolete. It just means we have another tool in our toolbox to actually start working on a web page. I like to think of Flexbox, Justify content, and Align Items as an old Etch-a-Sketch. So you may have played with one of these, maybe you haven't, but usually what you do is like, if I could emulate this, the left knob would make it go this way, and the right knob would make it go up or down depending on which way you wrote. And so you could start making interesting patterns and pictures, which this very much is, on this Etch-a-Sketch. And so it's actually pretty interesting. You could think of this as the Justify knob, and you could think of this as the Align knob. So in terms of Flexbox, if this was like a Flexbox toy. So anything that we go this way is going to be Justify, and it's going to be the Justify knob. And anything that we go up or down with is going to be our Align knob. And it's always the same way. So, or it's always the same concept in terms of Justify is the main axis and the cross axis is Align. So I don't know. I always like to think of multiple ways of the same thing. So you can go, okay, that's pretty interesting. It's really just like a giant Etch-a-Sketch tool inside of our code. And it's super powerful to help us understand that Justify content is always going to be our main axis and Align Items is always going to be our cross axis. Notice I'm using specific language there. I'm saying main axis and cross axis. I'm not saying always left to right or always top to down. Guess what? You can actually flip the axes, but we're not going to be talking about that because it's too deep for the content that we want to cover in these modules. But again, we've provided links in the more help. So if you want to go or some more help, if you want to go look at those things and go deeper, I think it's super cool. And you can do some amazing layouts with Flexbox. But guess what? Look at this. Look at this picture. In fact, I'm going to change this view to be full screen. Look at this. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go, let's grab our other code piece over here. And we'll go 50-50. Look at this. We are right there. There's some CodePen margin that we could remove here. That's actually, we could do that in a second. But we're there. We did it. We built the web page. And now we're ready to start looking at deploying this website so that you could share the work that you've done with your peers, friends, or family. But first, let's get rid of this kind of annoying white border we have here. So I'm going to go back to our view, our editor view. And I want to talk about a hidden tag that we haven't seen yet. So everybody join me in right-clicking, inspecting. And you can see over here, we can see there's a lot more than meets the eye. We've been coding inside of main. You can see there's a body tag that's actually containing this. We're going to go into this in more detail in the coming modules. But for a second, let's just look at this body tag. And you'll notice that there's a margin of 8 pixels that's coming from the browser, actually. User agent style sheet means that Chrome's putting this in. So we don't want this margin. We want this to be 0. So guess what? We can go into our page and our CSS, go to the very tip top, because body is used for everything, and it's good to have at the top of the cascade. Open and close curlies, and I'm just going to type in margin 0. And that should eliminate that white border. There we go. No more, or that white margin, so it looks just like what we wanted to be a clean web page. Okay, so that's the last thing we needed. Guess what? You did it. Congratulations. You built a web page from scratch, from the beginnings of our H1 tag to using some pretty advanced CSS modules in terms of our Flexbox module. And with that, we're now going to be moving on to how you could actually share this with anybody that you know. That's right, we're going to be able to look how CodePen can show us how we could share this with your friends or family and show them the awesome work that you've done so far. Let's go check it out.